Talking royals now, and the Queen has made many of the front pages this morning after she revealed during a virtual engagement how having COVID left her exhausted. Let's hear what she had to say. Joining us now, royal commentator Jennie Bond and royal editor Russell Miles. Good morning to you both. Russell, it's quite personal sort of conversation from the Queen, because we know she had COVID, but she's never terribly open or never moans, as we always say. Indeed. It was a little nod to just, it hasn't been an easy time. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, you know, the palace are always at pains to stress that private medical issues should remain private, but you know, the Queen putting herself out there and saying, you know, that has left her exhausted, and I think that it possibly explains a little bit about why she's missed some engagements recently. We know that she's suffering from mobility issues as well. I think we forget sometimes that she's 95 going on 96.
That is exactly it. When you put it all into context,
exactly.
She is remarkable.
She is, absolutely. And yesterday, speaking to staff at the Royal London Hospital who worked tirelessly throughout the pandemic, and they created this amazing new unit called the Elizabeth Unit for COVID that they built in 5 weeks that should have taken 5 months. And I think she was speaking to some people who've suffered from COVID as well, and by saying that this horrible pandemic, we've all been affected by it, and it has left her exhausted. Little bit explains sort of why we haven't seen her out and about recently.
No, of course. And, you know, the people were affected in exactly the same way, so it was just to have that honest conversation. I think it's nice for all of us to understand a little bit about where she's coming from. Jennie, hello, good morning. It makes sense that the Queen's just taken a bit of a step back from other in-person events. I guess we've gotten quite used to seeing this Zoom interaction.
We have, and I think she actually rather enjoys it. She seems to interact very well with this modern technology. And I think she does want to keep working. But yes, this is the pattern of the future. We're going to see her more and more interacting remotely with all sorts of people, and other members of the royal family will step up and do the face-to-face stuff, as they will in the next engagement, what was due, which is on Thursday, Maundy Thursday. It's a ceremony which the Queen has taken part in for decades. She's only missed it 4 times. But this Thursday, she thinks it's just one step too far. It'll be quite a lot of steps, actually, because you have to hand out Maundy money to, well, as many people as her age. So 96, I think, it's 96 men and women. So it's quite a long ceremony, and she won't be taking part.
No, and I guess looking ahead to the summer, we know she always loved Ascot, but there'll be big events that I'm guessing she just won't be at.
Well, it's interesting. Yes, Royal Ascot is her favourite week of the year. She normally has a big house party at Windsor Castle, and different guests take part in that procession along the Royal Mile. It's a big event, but I cannot see her getting into a carriage this year. It would be extraordinary to do so. They're very uncomfortable, those carriages, I'm told. I haven't actually been in one. And I don't think she'll be doing that. Maybe she'll arrive in a car. It would be odd if she missed Royal Ascot, but there's also going to be the Windsor Horse Show is next, an informal event in the grounds of Windsor Castle, and of course Chelsea Flower Show. She normally fetches up there. We shall see. Some she will make, some she won't. But I think the palace have taken this very wise decision to say in advance whether she's going to be there or not, so we don't all get into a terrible panic, which we're rather good at, aren't we?
That's absolutely right. I think that's it. It's the planning thing, so there's no sense of, oh, it's all happened last minute. I think, as you say, it's a very wise issue. And the other members of the family simply stepping up, Russell?
Yeah, I mean, as Jennie said, that the palace wanted to sort of get ahead of it. There was the order of service being printed. And, I mean, she hasn't missed one for over 50 years. Since 1970 was the last Royal Maundy service she missed. However, Prince Charles is stepping up, as I think, you know, a lot of the members of the family are going to have to do, because the Queen has said herself she's struggling with these mobility issues, and I think really just all her strength needs to be put into the big events like we saw at Prince Philip's memorial last week. She'll be desperate to make some of those Platinum Jubilee events over the summer, of course, which she wants the whole country to enjoy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anne's in Australia at the minute as well.
She is, yes. It's part of the big Platinum Jubilee tours. We had William and Kate over in the Caribbean. Princess Anne has been in Australia over the last couple of days. She's going to Papua New Guinea tomorrow. She has been opening the Royal Easter Horse Show, which is a big, fantastic event, part of, you know, culture in Australia, going in an open-top carriage, part of sort of a nod to the Queen back in 1970. Not as controversial as William and Kate's tour of the Caribbean, I don't think. But, you know, Princess Anne, normally the hardest worker in the room, so she's hitting the ground running. That's
very well liked, really.
She is indeed,
yeah, she is. Jennie, another big documentary, a lot of people talking about it right now. It's the new Jimmy Savile documentary on Netflix, which features Prince Charles. What do you make of the relationship that it was then?
Well, it was very well known that Jimmy Savile was liked in royal circles. He was described to me back then as a bit of the court jester. I was surprised in those years that he was quite as close as he appeared to be to a number of the royal family, and from the Duke of Edinburgh as well as Charles and Diana. They liked him, they trusted him, and in the letter that is released as part of that documentary, we see Prince Charles saying, you're the bloke who knows what's going on in the country, and I want to get to parts of the country that others can't reach. He was used as a royal advisor. I knew the man a little bit. I worked at the BBC and he was often there. I remember sharing a lift with him one day. Well, in common with many people, there was something very strange about Savile, and I did think it was odd. He was so close to the royal family. But I used him once as a source, I have to say. I rang him up and I said, can you tell me what's going on in this War of the Waleses? You've just spent the weekend, I gather, with Charles and Diana. And he talked to me. He talked some sense. He was a man in the know.
It is extraordinary now knowing what we know, but obviously at that time he was just very highly regarded.
He was. I think people have to remember, I mean, lots of people are too young to remember, he was an absolute icon in this country. He raised millions and millions of pounds for great causes, for Stoke Mandeville Hospital. He was running around the country from top to bottom of the country, and the whole people were turning out in their thousands to applaud him and throwing money in the charity buckets. He was almost worshipped, and yet he was, as the documentary suggests, you know, the biggest con man probably of all time.
Absolutely extraordinary documentary, and the access as well. There isn't looking back. It's just
I think, as Jennie says, you know, lots of people were hoodwinked into Savile.
Savile. Thank you so much, Russell. Thank you very much, Jennie. Lovely to have you here. Thank you.
Don't forget, you can watch full episodes of Lorraine on the ITV Hub, and all the best clips, compilations and playlists right here on our channel. Just subscribe now and you'll never miss an upload. Click here to watch another video similar to this one, or click here to head to our channel's homepage to explore all of our exciting videos.